Welcome to the first episode of this season's Huddle House. We've been waiting for this one for a minute. Week one, man, that was the longest off season in the history of off seasons. It was about 6 months. It felt like about a year and a half. I think it's just because of the Dynasty League now. It just drags a little more because there's a little bit more anticipation after the rookies get on the roster. So I wouldn't know, but yeah, no, we're back, man. We're back. It's me. Ty's here, and we got Lucas on the show just because we thought he'd be an eventful guest this week. So he's gonna have some stuff to talk about. So how you guys feeling?
Feeling good, man. We feel better 1-0, but I'm not upset at the outcome. Haven't lingered on it, and looking forward to this week.
Yeah, I'd say the feeling over here is a little bit confused, but we're in a place of adaptability this year, so we're just gonna wait and see what happens.
I texted Lucas the other day, just a little screenshot of just him in 14th place, and I was like, "This is a sight I love to see." It was it's only gonna last for 1 week, because I'm sure he'll make some blockbuster trade to put him in the top three. But it's nice to have it while it's there.
Well, there's just a lot of weird stuff that happened there, like Devonta Smith goosed, and then Ayuk didn't really do much. But of course, that the Niners game really in general is kind of a weird one. I don't know if that's a great barometer for what they're going to be just because of the weather and on everything.
Yeah. The only thing that game gave us was a cool celebration at the end. That's about it.
Yeah. Bateman, he had the bomb touchdown, but I don't know if he really did anything other than that. I mean,
no.
One catch for 4 yards other than that one. So
yeah, it was pretty
uneventful
for Bateman. It was the Devin Duvernay show. Thank you very much, Ty. I appreciate that one.
Yeah, Devin came on fire. Made me regret that third round.
I take Devin from him, and then this morning I outbid him by $1 on Kyle Phillips. So Ty's coming in with a little vitriol to this show today.
I would love to see the day when you have the balls to put Devin in your starting lineup. Actually, though. Because I feel like it's one thing to score 2 touchdowns on the bench. In the starting lineup, it means a little more.
Yeah, well, the moment I start him, he's going to lay a goose. It's just it's natural. And the same thing with Young Ho Koo. It's a moment I play, I'm like, 19 points off the bench. He's going to have about 3. So it's can't start him unless they do it about 5 weeks in a row.
And you did bid me on Phillips this morning. I was very interested to see how waivers were going to go because it's been a while and a lot of people, some people have a lot of money they're coming in the year with. Some people have significantly less money they're coming into the year with.
I have none, but I've just been throwing it around aggressively.
So I was really interested to see the number people would throw around, and I was in a fortunate spot to I have 105, so I could have bid a lot, or I could have bid more if I wanted, but I didn't think 12. I didn't think you would one up me. I thought I would one up somebody else on that one. So that was a nice move by you.
Yeah, fun thing about Fab is you have no idea what's coming. So you just have to throw a number out, hope it's the right one. Thankfully, 12 was one enough. It's just
who was the other popular addition?
Warren.
The Steelers backup.
Yeah.
Warren. And who got him?
James, I think.
I thought it was James.
I think James scooped him up.
Yeah.
He spent $14 or something like that.
Yeah, that one will be an interesting situation because it seems like Najee's going to play. And I don't know. He didn't really get they couldn't really get anything going on the ground in that game. But every situation is different. James is notorious for that too, isn't he? Just scooping up those backup running backs and then having them off later in the year, whenever something.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. But okay, then how about just we talk about surprises from week one, whether it be the finish of a game in our league or something that stood out, like an observation.
Oh, so we can do it that way. I was thinking more we kind of go through the matchups and kind of say the surprises from each one. How would you want to do it, Lucas?
Oh, that makes sense.
That's fine. Yeah, we can
go matchup by matchup, say the surprises, the disappointments from each one, just kind of break them down.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to move pretty quickly through them. But
we'll start with the matchups that none of us were in, just so that we can kind of spend less time on those because those guys are clearly less important. So. We'll start with James and Jeremy. So James pulls out a close dub. I was with Jeremy on Sunday. Lucas was too. He was kind of actively tracking it. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't really say it's a surprise. It's more just a disappointment was the injury of Elijah Mitchell that kind of held him out for the majority of that game when he was actually off to a really good start, 6 carries for 41 yards. Like he was rocking and rolling even in a, sloppy field like that one. He was still doing pretty good. And then gets injured and is out the rest of the game. I know that definitely took a toll on his team.
Well, and the Cole Kmet goose. He didn't get any.
Yeah, the Kokomet. Yeah, only 1 target. That was just not the game to have a pass catcher because, I mean, even Mooney, who was projected to get, 10 targets a game this season, only had like 3 or 4. It was just no one was throwing the ball. It was just a kind of a
And you also had Joe Burrow turning the ball over 5 times for him. I know Ty won't want to talk about that too long, but that's negative 10 fantasy points right there. So I'm sure if you're Jeremy, you're thinking you probably outperformed James as a whole if you look at the top and bottom of his team. But
Yeah.
some of those outliers just happened and sort of screwed him over a little bit.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
a tough loss to take because his team has a lot of firepower. And I think that I don't think that loss is indicative of anything greater. Other than fantasy football is a game of luck, man. Sometimes the ball bounces your way, sometimes it don't.
I think the encouraging thing for Jeremy is he had a lot of roster turnover not turnover, but roster changes this offseason with just where guys went. And all of them were kind of deemed to be less desirable destinations, but the consistency and the performance kind of stayed the same. Tyreek Hill obviously doesn't have the 40 bomb, which he doesn't have every week with the Chiefs, but what you did have is 12 targets, 8 catches, was getting used like crazy. I mean, I was obviously fantasy casting for Waddle, and every single play, it just seemed like more Tyreek Hill, just getting fed the rock from Tua. So, I mean, he still had a decent outing. A.J. Brown, 13 targets, 10 catches. Jalen Hurts was eyeing him the first read of every progression, every play. It was like definitely still saw the workload, got 20. So, and then Deontay Johnson didn't have his best week, but he still had 12 targets. So, I mean, the fact that his receivers all have different situations now with different quarterbacks, but still kind of kept that consistent volume is a good thing for him.
Yeah, and I mean on James' side, his guys showed up, man. Like Terry didn't really get the volume that we might have thought, but he did catch the bomb touchdown. Especially with wide receivers, really. Like Brandon Cooks was what we kind of thought. A lot of targets, just wins with volume. Christian Kirk the same way. And I mean, gosh, that game was weird. I feel like there was a lot of fantasy output from that game, and it was not one I was expecting there to be nearly as the Jags and Commanders. Like there was tons of relevant outcomes from that game. Like every receiver on the Commanders would have been good, and like James Robinson had a really good game, and some of these receivers on the Jags, and then Devontae Adams obviously smashed. Like he had I'm looking at this right. 17 targets.
Yeah, 17 targets.
Yep.
And I started Renfro this week, and I was fantasy casting and just miserable because it's just Devontae Adams. I mean, I don't think Derek Carr knows there's another receiver on his team now. Like it's just like throw to Devontae every play. They might as well just triple team him because I mean the ball's going his direction. I saw Derek throw a pick into triple coverage. Like Devontae was not even remotely open. Still threw it 40 yards downfield, was like, he's out there somewhere. Let's see if he gets it. That's the only person he sees right now.
I mean, that's like saying you could get a ice cream sundae or like one of those little soft serve things out of the machine in that crappy cafeteria. Like it's I mean, like Renfro's like solid if there's nothing else, but it's like, come on, man, you have like the best receiver. So I get it. But 17 targets, that's like what they did for Darren Waller in week 1 last year. Do you guys remember that? He got like 1,000 targets, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's his season." And then like they all kind of disappeared or like severely tapered off. Like it doesn't seem like that'll be the case here, but it's funny. It's the same.
Yeah.
The running backs for James, though, worth a mention. He benched Kareem Hunt, who kind of had an awesome game. Not like super efficient, just found the end zone twice, and then Zeke kind of looked like what he did last year, just maybe trudging his boots through mud a little bit. Well, I can't say that. I didn't watch the game, but looking at his
he didn't look bad with the carry. It was just such a bad offensive performance from the team that they weren't able to really extend any drives to really get him the volume. Like the carries I watched it, and the carries he had, he looked solid. Like he looked pretty fresh, but there just wasn't really much to the entire offense that night.
Okay, yeah, I didn't get to see that one. but the stats just didn't seem super great. And then CMC just, I mean, he had 13 points, but that's not CMC. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good if that's Kareem Hunt, but like not Christian McCaffrey.
Well, and only on 10 carries. Normally, under the Darnold era or, before that, I mean, the Cam Newton era, he was getting like 15 to 20 carries. And he was also getting about 8 to 10 targets. He got 4 targets. So this could change, but I mean, like early on, he just wasn't getting the same volume. And I understand Cleveland has a good defense, and like I understand they were, behind for a pretty decent chunk of the game and had to start throwing it a little more. But you can still throw it to McCaffrey. I mean, he's clearly one of the best receivers on the team, even though he's the running back. Because I mean, after DJ, it's pretty much just him. So it's like the fact he only got 4 targets is a little concerning, but I wouldn't overreact to it.
The only highlight I saw from that was Baker's like long pass to Robbie Anderson. Like as far as I know, that's the only pass he threw all game. Because I did not see a highlight of any other pass he made, other than like a terrible interception that he sailed by like 30 yards.
Yeah.
It seems to me like Baker's a fantasy cancer to whatever offense he goes to. It's just he's never good for a fantasy offense.
It seems
he was a cancer for every single receiver in Cleveland. I mean, Odell leaves, goes to the Rams, has several good fantasy weeks in a row. Completely radically different player. Jarvis Landry looked great, So it's like everywhere Baker goes, fantasy death follows.
That's tough. We should move on to another game though. That was a lot.
All right, so let's go to Carter Jordan. We'll spend a little bit of time on this, but I mean it was kind of The
best player here is Saquon Barkley, right?
Yeah.
That was amazing. He does the thing. Saquon it's fascinating to watch him when he gets up to top speed, man, because he does that thing where like his body's moving so fast, but his head is just like perfectly still. Like it looks fake how fast everything's moving. But it's just like every time he runs up the sideline when he's healthy and untouched, I just see that and I'm like, wow, that is different.
We saw old Saquon Barkley on week 1, and he didn't look like he'd ever been injured in his life. And like, I mean, I wish nothing but the best. Largely due to my own, benefit because I have him in my other league. But I mean,
exist right now, man. I don't know I can't even hear what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, okay, my bad. You're right, my bad. I'm not in any other leagues. It's only. Yeah, I'm saying I like Saquon this year, but I'm saying if he can stay healthy, I mean, we can maybe see some more of this because I mean he looked good. Me and Yike and Carter were watching the Titans Giants game pretty much all the way through, and every carry he had it was old Saquon. He was fast, shifty, great patience. I mean, he was finding every pocket, every hole.
Yeah,
got 7 targets. That's encouraging. Caught 6 of them. He was dialed in. So if Carter gets that consistently, that's nice.
Lucas, let me hear your thoughts on the Cam Akers situation because he got nothing out of Cam Akers. He sent a lot to get Cam Akers.
I honestly felt bad seeing that. That was, a little validation in a trade is nice sometimes, but that just felt bad. I almost felt like I should send back a pick or something, but I think there'll be brighter days ahead for him. Definitely didn't look good.
Because you got in 2 firsts.
Lucas, brighter days ahead for Cam
2
Akers.
firsts and Michael Pittman.
Yeah.
Brighter days ahead.
I ended up getting T. Higgins and 1 first from that.
The only way is brighter days ahead is just him getting some form of a fantasy point. But like he's not the guy. Like he's just not. I've been saying that for the last year. I'm sorry. I gave that trade like a D and everyone was, crapping on me for being too mean to Carter, but it was a straight up garbage deal. Cam Akers sucks. He's not good. He's never going to put up more than 10. He's not good.
It was surprising to me. I expected him to come out and still lead the backfield. I expected sort of a 60-40 split with Henderson there. And that just wasn't even remotely true. So I don't know what the future is for Akers going forward. I don't know if he, works his way into the starting lineup. He's still young, still plenty of talent, but even when he's been in, he hasn't looked good. So it's some question marks around it, especially considering no other running back has really successfully come back from that injury before.
Yeah.
So
that's the big thing. Is it looks like that injury is what we feared it might be. And then on the other side, Cordero Patterson's still a thing, apparently. I mean, 22 carries for 120 yards.
Yeah.
What?
Tyler Algier or whatever, Mitri's thinking he's resurrecting his franchise. Healthy scratch, doesn't play. Like I said, that could change. He's a rookie, but still, like, we thought that was a 1 year, like, flash in the pan, but they're like, nope, Cordero, we are going to run this guy till he's 70 years old. He will never retire, and he will continue torching us until he's, getting his AARP benefits. It's just, they're going to run him into the ground.
I can't say it's not working. Like, they should have won that game. But weirdest career arc of any player probably in NFL history.
He's 31. Yeah, everyone's talking about these 28-year-old running backs like, oh, they're done for. And I understand Cordero's a complete anomaly, especially since most of his career he kind of sucked. And he didn't have much tread on his tires because most of his career he sucked.
He was like a specialist this whole career.
Yeah. So I get there's a difference there, but still, like, this is a very rare occurrence to see a 31-year-old running back putting up 20-plus games ever. Like, it just doesn't happen. So this is specialist or not. It's just, this is an outlier in fantasy that I think will always be a little bit of an asterisk on fantasy stats. I can't believe he's still actually producing.
But nonetheless, a nice win for Jordan there to get the season going.
Yeah.
What's our next one you have your eyes on?
I'm going through the ones that don't involve us, like I said right now. So we got Jake laying 84 and Brandon's dropping 151. So most lopsided week.
Talk about, man, if you're Jake, you got to be concerned here. You just traded your whole future away for this season. You're already the oldest team. You come out trying to compete and you lay that kind of goose egg week one. I mean, he doesn't have any flexibility left. He's got to, just ride it out and stay the course and see what happens. But you can't be excited about it if you're Jake. You're feeling sick to the stomach if you're him, in my opinion.
To me, this game felt very reminiscent to the Bills and Rams game on Thursday night. And maybe it's just because Brandon has like 18 Bills players on his team.
Yeah.
Associate him with Buffalo, but like just came out and demolished what had been the 1 seed last year. That's a little bit older of a team, like doesn't have as much. I mean, I'm getting too realistic with it now, but I think that it just feels like, wow, Brandon is the Bills, man. Like explosive, has incredibly good players, a good flexibility of young and established talent. Like, and 151 in the opener, dude. Wow. And he could have maxed out at 175. As the weekly report said? Whew.
Yeah, it's scary. I think we spent the whole offseason talking about the improvements we've made, which, I mean, definitely exists. But, like, Brandon, like, showed week one, he's like, I don't even need to make trades because my rosters is already so stacked. And, I mean, he's got this unlimited explosiveness. I mean, Josh Allen can put up 30. I'm going to put up 20 as, like, his floor, but he can easily put up 30 to 40 any given week. And Mixon just got ran into the ground, which, I mean, like 27 carries, 9 targets, like, geez, like, and that was in a game where they were losing most of the game and Mixon was still getting fed. So, I mean, tons of faith in him. Chase is Jamar Chase is Jamar Chase. He's always going to 16 targets for Jamar Chase. Beautiful. Stephon Diggs looked amazing, like obvious. Michael Pittman. Oh my gosh, man. Like Michael Pittman is going to be a target hog with Matt Ryan. And I mean, Lucas, I understand like T. Higgins is the man, but like, I mean, and he's better than Michael Pittman. I would rank him higher for Dynasty, but like, I don't know if the difference is a first. I think Brandon did pretty good on that one. Like Michael Pittman's looking nice out there. And then Gabe Davis had some of the most hype going into the offseason after his, playoffs last year. And he came out in only 5 targets, but showed that he is that deep threat still that Allen's going to chuck it downfield to. And when he gets those, he's going to have a lot of massive weeks. So it's a scary roster he's got built there.
Let's see T. Higgins first before we go making any judgments here, Matt.
I know. I'm just saying, like, T. Higgins probably ain't getting 12 targets plus.
Watch what you say here.
I think he's going to end up playing this week, Lucas. That's what it sounded like.
I would love to see it. I hate that he went out, but I don't hate that it was against the Steelers and we were able to come out with the win. So having him back week 2, it's almost an ideal scenario there.
Yeah. Looking at bright spots for Jake, I mean, there really wasn't a ton, but I guess one of the main ones that stands out is Antonio Gibson. I mean, I know that Brian Robinson is been shot. But like, I still think if Gibson continues to produce like he did week 1, during the weeks that Robinson is recovering from being shot, I think that he can maybe secure, most of the workload there. And he looked pretty good with 16 and a half and yeah, eight targets, 14 carries. Like that's pretty good workload. And he did a good job of what he had. So, and then Michael Thomas off the bench. I mean, I didn't love Michael Thomas's targets, only having 8. I mean, that's not terrible, but he did catch 2 touchdowns, seemed to be kind of the red zone guy. So, whenever Thomas plays, he might get some production, but we all know that if Michael Thomas sneezes too many times during the week, he's going to find a way to miss 4 weeks. So it's nice for him until it's not.
Fair enough. What's our next one up?
We got Caleb Chris. We need to talk about this one. Let's talk about it for like 2 minutes. Caleb looked really good. Mahomes obviously is Mahomes. Edwards-Helaire got a couple touchdowns. Nice. Yeah, Bills defense obviously went off. Juju got solid targets. Like Caleb looked pretty sharp, largely just because of the Chiefs' unbelievable game.
Yeah.
Chris, I think the main standout is just Kyle Pitts just doing nothing. 2.9. I mean, I know he did get 7 targets, but that was a pretty high-scoring game from the Falcons where they, fed Drake London and fed,
Drake London, yeah.
Errol.
He had a nice game.
Yeah, and like other guys were getting fantasy production, and so you think that Kyle Pitts would be a part of that in a game where there are a lot of guys were getting fantasy production, and he was just kind of like non-existent. So that's kind of a little bit of a concern considering how much faith and stock has been put in Pitts.
Yeah, I mean, I think his team's just that you see the young players that are still developing there, and it's not like he's in, I feel like necessarily win now mode. And I, honestly, neither of these teams I feel like are, but Caleb just had the like nice stack of Mahomes and Helaire, who Helaire caught 2 touchdowns. Like that's an insane bump of points. Getting 2 touchdown catches and 2 touchdown passes on the same tandem. I just think he had his guys hitting. The big concern on Caleb's team is Mike Gesicki, because like the Dolphins are just not using him.
Yeah.
The new regime is not using him at all like what he had been, where he was just essentially a big wide out there. Now he's like they're definitely trying to make him like an inline blocker, and that is clearly not his game. Like I remember reading stuff, before the season started that this was the plan. He only played 42% of snaps in the game. Like that is definitely going to be a tough spot, and someone that I thought was promising in Miami and was going to have a good future there, who now I think he's playing on the tag this year, but maybe he'll go somewhere else next year. But it doesn't look like it's going to get any better in Miami for him with Mike McDaniels. And that's really all I think there's to say. I mean, Christian Watson, obviously, for Caleb, a lot of potential there, but I mean, he might have just burnt every bridge with Aaron Rodgers in that one drive. The look on Rodgers' face definitely was like, what I tell you, he like gave a smirk to the sidelines, like these guys, these rookies, man.
Yeah. So, hey, who wouldn't have dropped that? Romeo Dubs.
That's what I was saying. I mean, gosh, give a ball like that to Romeo, right?
Yeah.
But you saw his face. Like, he is one smug son of a gun. Like,
he does not hide his expressions at all. That man will wear his feelings on his face so obviously.
Talked about it, ad nauseum. Like, this, not only the offseason of drops, but like this week he's gone on Pat McAfee, his post-game presser. He was like, we had that deep shot, we dropped it, and the game was kind of downhill from there. I'm like, talk about burying a guy in his first game. Like, he's just tough, man. He's kind of like a grouchy old man. But
yeah,
I don't know.
All right, so now we're getting to the 3 matchups that we were in. So let's start with Lucas's. Lucas, not a very good week for you, man. Elaborate a little bit on what positives and negatives you saw from your team.
Man, not a good week at all. Not what I was expecting. A lot of young sort of swing receivers that I was sort of counting on to, take a step forward or at least stay the same in their development with Brandon Ayuk, Bateman, and then of course Devonta Smith. Just didn't really pan out for me there. Really the only bright spot was Jalen Hurts and Pat Freiermuth. Jalen Hurts was running all up and down the field. The offense looked great. They looked pretty confident in him. I'd say he's a top 5, dynasty quarterback going forward as long as he, maintains his confidence in the front office. And then Freiermuth looked great, drew 10 targets, had 75 yards against the Bengals. It's a pretty good game. Outside of that, nothing. Just, I don't think I had Bateman had a long touchdown, and that was it. So a little rough for me.
Yeah. I mean, at least Bateman had five targets isn't good, but I thought he only had like 2 or 3. So that actually kind of surprised me a little bit. Higgins obviously was just bad luck. He probably would have had a good game if it wasn't for just getting, injured. But yeah, your running back production was not good at all. Montgomery, granted, a lot of that was the weather, but still 17 carries for 26 yards.
You could fall farther than that.
Yeah. That's nothing, man. That looks like Cam Akers' impression.
Yeah, 17.
Well, Cam Akers was 3 for 0, so we won't go that far. But
that's 1 point.
At least he was going forward.
1.7 carry. That is terrible, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like Austin's team really did anything too crazy. Obviously Herbert had a really good game. I can't be saying anything about a guy that scored 115. That's still a good outing, but I know it's just kind of like a little all over the place how he did it. Dillon was a really big bright spot with getting 6 targets, getting used more in the backfield. That was a little concerning for Aaron Jones because I think everyone kind of thought that Dillon was the red zone, like goal line guy, but that Jones was going to be a little bit more of the between the 20s guy. So for Dillon to be stealing some of those targets, that's a little bit like for Jones owners, it's a little bit more like, kind of a bad omen because he was doing really well with the targets he had, getting 46 yards on just 5 catches. So, Dillon had a really good outing. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, 12 targets. He looked like he's here to stay. I watched the Lions, Hard Knocks this year and kind of came around on him a little bit just hearing the guy talk about football. I'm like, this guy, he's got the mindset of a star. So he kind of impressed me a little bit to show that he's still there. So,
but I think big concern is for his team. Not like it's a big concern, but thing to monitor, I guess, would be Najee Harris because what he was so good at last year and why he was so fantasy relevant was how many receptions he got. And that just doesn't seem like it's Mitch's game. Like, I know his score was on a touchdown. It was on a catch, but it was a design play. It wasn't just like my arm is weak and I'm just going to check it down and we'll pick up 5 yards or whatever like he did last year. So it doesn't seem like he's going to get that type of work this year like he did last year. And I think that could limit his ceiling a little bit as to what we've seen. Not to say he can't still be very effective on the ground and in general, but could be something to note there.
Yeah, definitely a little concerning because even I know the Bengals were doing a pretty good job up front, but still even 10 carries for 23 yards. Like I said, that's an anomaly for Najee. It's not going to feel typically consistent, but I think it is a little testament to how bad that offensive line is. Just had a center get injured. I don't really know the diagnosis of how long he'll be out, but I know the entire room with Lucas and Jeremy kind of winced whenever he went down because the backup center is absolutely horrible. So as that line gets worse, that's not really a good outlook for Najee's production for yards per carry. So that's a little bit of a concern. But Herbert's going to be Herbert, man. And having that stack with Allen, I don't know how long Keenan will be out, but, that's always going to be pretty lethal. So still a pretty good roster there. He showed up. So, but yeah, moving on to I guess we'll do mine since I narrowly avoided the upset of the millennium, and Lucas can attest that he was with me the whole day. I was panicking a little bit. Mitri had me shaking in my boots. It was a really awful performance by me. Hated this week. I loved watching football, but I hated the fantasy side of it. It was kind of making me a little miserable. Not too many highlights on my end, but a win's a win. I'm happy to at least have gotten the dub. Start the season 1-0, even if it was ugly. So yeah, you guys, if it wasn't for Wandale getting hurt, I probably would have lost, to be honest. I might have at least.
What about Curtis Samuel, man? I thought that was just like a little throw-in in that trade, and he looked good.
Yeah,
looked really good.
11 targets, even got a few carries. He looked like Carolina Panthers, second half of the season a couple years ago. Curtis Samuel, it was actually like a wide receiver too. He was getting used as a little bit of a dynamic weapon. I was like, where is this Curtis Samuel coming from?
It was the craziest thing that literally all their receivers caught touchdown passes. Like even Curtis had the first one.
Yeah, he was the target for me last year. Never ended up with him. Kind of forgot about him this offseason. And then here he comes again, reminding me. And I think a lot of that is because of Carson Wentz actually came to play and had a really good showing. I think he's fifth now. He was fifth in the league in yards, passing yards. So if
Yeah.
he can keep that up, then I think Curtis Samuel might actually be able to keep up some sort of relevance.
But I mean, we're not going to spend too much time on the huddle house talking about defenses. But I mean, hats off to the Steelers defense, man. They were making me miserable in that game. It was just every single time there was another one, the whole room was looking at me laughing, being like, it's another 5 or 2 points for Mitri. Like, it's just, it just kept getting worse. I was like, Burrow, like, get it together, brother.
I'm sorry that your fantasy team took a hit.
Yeah.
My whole week has taken a hit because I'm serious. I've been in a bad mood. It's not
Yeah.
I feel real bad about your fantasy squeaking out.
I know you don't care. Yeah, I mean, just a bad week for me. Simple as that. I'm gonna move on. Like I said, I got bigger things in store, bigger things in mind. Hopefully, they get it together. The good news is my running back duo, even though neither of them scored touchdowns, they both got great volume. I assume that with better game scripts and just kind of better fortune, they're gonna break one out. A lot of games, turn some of those into scores. If Dalvin gets a score, it's an 18, 19-point week. If Henry gets a score, it's probably a 15-point week. They were just missing the touchdowns, but the workload, the yards per carry was still there. So that was a little encouraging. Just needed to see him get in the end zone next time. Cup
I think I was gonna say I think your biggest concern, Matt, is gonna be CeeDee Lamb going forward without Dak Prescott.
yeah.
I mean, he saw 11 targets just being peppered, but he only caught 2 of them, and it's because a lot of those balls weren't catchable.
I watched the game, and I mean, even in the fourth quarter, there was one 40-yard catch CeeDee would have had where he had about 3 or 4 yards of separation, and Cooper Rush overthrew him by about 10 yards, and I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me, man! Like, throw him a decent ball. Like, most of those weren't catchable. He was getting open, and that's on a really good secondary with the Bucs. So some of it was game script, some of it was just the team they were playing, but a lot of it is just bad schemes, no target threat outside of CeeDee. I almost want Gallup to come back because no one's scared of Noah Brown. It's like we need someone else there that can kind of take a little bit of that pressure off CeeDee because he was getting doubled quite often. Just a not a very good look for him just to have such a bad target. I mean, or a good target share, but a bad amount of
reception rate.
It was just kind of gross. And even though Waddle put up a little 16-point week, it didn't feel good at all because it was only on 5 targets. And, if he doesn't catch that long touchdown, he probably has 4 or 5 this week. It was just, I didn't like him not really getting looked at very much. So overall, I wasn't even really happy about that either. So overall, not very encouraged by what I saw this week. Only good thing is I know Stafford's not going to have that big of a dud again, at least not very often. And then I also think that Schultz will stay pretty consistent. And hopefully once Dobbins comes back, he'll be a little bit better of a flex than Renfro was. So I think there's still some hope, but obviously it's just week 1. A lot of weird things happen week 1. Just not a very good start.
Can I get in about mine and Marcus's before we run out of time?
I mean, I was going to also preview week 2, so I'm fine with doing just kind of running a little into a second showing if you want.
Okay, man. That's cool.
Yeah, but we can do this for talk about yours for about 4 minutes. Ty, you got some thoughts?
Yeah, I think man, it was a tough loss because Marcus played really well, and I thought that this was a game I was going to win, and I think my team played well enough to win in a lot of areas. I mean, the vision for my team came together with my running backs, like Taylor 25, Swift 25. That's beautiful. That's what you want to see. Chubb contributed his 15, and I feel like that's pretty good. That's a pretty average game for him, especially considering he didn't score a touch or
no touchdown. Kareem Hunt got him.
Yeah, the vision was there. I was like, man, my guys are showing up. Kelsey had 22. He had 100-something yards. I had so many guys that showed up, and then Aaron Rodgers gives me 3.7. If he just has an average game, if he throws 1 touchdown, I think I might not have. He would have gotten some more yards. I probably would have won. Rodgers just completely wet the bed, man. And that's how I get a tough loss when I put up a lot of points. Marcus's guys came through. It was such a slow burn Monday night watching that Broncos game because I was up 18 and he had Javonte and Cortland, and obviously ended up getting 20 something. But watching Javonte catch 11 passes, each one was just like a little dagger in the heart because I was like, half a point there, half a point there. He targeted 12 times. Like he wasn't even getting crazy yards on the catches. It was just like every little bit. So, it's a loss, but I'm not overly concerned about the team. I think that this is a win most weeks. You put up 120 points. I feel like more often than not, the guy you're playing is maybe they'll have a better week than that, but by like 7 times out of 10, you win that. So it was just a good week there. I'm not discouraged by my team. A little concerned about Allen Robinson, obviously, because he got 2 targets and Cooper Kupp got 15, and on the field for the same amount of snaps, pretty much.
Let's go, baby.
So whatever. I mean, I think that's going to balance back out. I know he's probably a little washed, and so there's probably some truth to that, but I think there's also truth to the fact that he's going to be better in LA. So I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle there, and we'll come to find it. Other than that, just looking at my team, my rookies, Treylon Burks, he was tied for the lead in targets there, but he literally was only on the field less than 50% of the snaps. Like it wasn't like he played much. And Pickens didn't really get targeted that much, but I don't know. I mean, it's hard to really judge much in that game just because the Steelers' offense was really hardly on the field at all, it felt like. So I don't know. I think that overall my team still has room to grow, and I'm not discouraged at all. Just looking forward to seeing that record get back to 500 hopefully this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. Ty, real quick, are you a little worried? I know we got only about 40 seconds. We'll get to the week 2, but
one more comment. Just a very nice win for Marcus because I think that his team was one we thought might peak later in the season, and to come out and get a win in week 1 is a really nice win for him that'll hopefully help set him up for a push as he goes on the season.
For sure.
Justin Jefferson show.
Oh yeah, Justin Jefferson's just stupid, dude. Unbelievable. Oh yeah, we'll get to week 2 here in a second with the second part of this video. All right, we are back. Just wanted to kind of keep this going. We just finished up all the week 1 matchups, and now we're going to dive in a little into week 2, kind of make our predictions sort of who keeps their train rolling, who takes their first loss, and who might get their first win. Just kind of want to go a little deeper into this. So we'll start with James versus Carter. Some just matchups to really note. He's starting Kareem Hunt this week, looks like, against the Jets. Looks like Devontae Adams is playing Arizona, who just got absolutely torched by every receiver. So probably another good week for Devontae lined up. Saquon's playing Carolina, who has a pretty susceptible rush defense. So there could be some high scorers here.
Well, I think you might have skipped the biggest headline, and that's that he put Lance in as a starter.
Oh, yeah. I did miss that. Yeah, against Seattle.
Looks to be his, first time trying out Trey. I think maybe he saw the weather reports, didn't want to jump at it last week, or maybe he was just wanting to let him play a game before he started him. But either way, that should be fun to watch because I think the whole world will be watching how Trey Lance does, really, because I think a lot of people are wanting to write that first performance off to, bad weather, which would make sense. So see how that goes. Seattle didn't look terrible against Russ. Definitely seemed like they held him in check. So we'll see how that plays out for him. But
the world wrote Seattle off, but they didn't write back.
Truth. Yeah. And on Carter's side, let's see what are we looking at here? He took Cam Akers out and he has Darrell Henderson in. That is a tough move right there.
He's gonna have to. It's a tough move, but it's the right move. He's playing a guy that can actually get more than 2 yards a carry. So good for you, Carter.
Darrell's the starter. I mean,
he's fortunate to have acquired Darrell to have with Cam Akers. If he hadn't made that move, he'd probably be hurting a lot more right now about Cam Akers not getting a job.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, and Zeke, the guy that James traded for, he's benching this week to start Kareem, which actually I can't blame him for, but it's like you traded a decent bit for Zeke, and then now you're 1 week in, you're not playing him. So
I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this for Carter's decisions with his team. So he's starting Amari and Donovan Peoples-Jones from the Browns. What do you guys think about that decision to roll with DPJ in a Jacoby Brissett-led offense over like Tyler Lockett or even Sky Moore, who might have higher upside just being, on the Chiefs?
Well, I don't like playing Sky Moore yet until he, works his way onto the field a little bit more. But
Well,
I did think that was it.
as opposed to Donovan Peoples-Jones.
I do think Tyler Lockett's sort of interesting play there. I guess maybe he just really didn't like what he saw from Geno Smith, so that's what he's thinking. Maybe he's just going based off the projection number,
Could be.
and that's
Yeah,
why.
he might just be trying to start the lineup that Sleeper likes the most. I mean, I don't know why I didn't like what we saw from Geno. I know Geno didn't throw for a ton of yards, but he was pretty efficient. Like, it was actually kind of surprising. I thought it was going to be like a few big plays here and there, but a 55% completion percentage. But Geno was carving them up a little bit, so it wasn't like
It wasn't like carving them up like.
it was only like 200 yards passing. It was
Yeah, like he had a nice throw on the first drive to the tight end, Disley for the touchdown. That was pretty sweet. But like to his receivers, it was mostly just like dinking and dunking. I felt like I don't think he really plays down.
Whenever DK only has like 6 yards or 7 yards a catch, it's not really a sign that the quarterback's throwing down the field. I mean, Lockett didn't do much, and Peoples-Jones is more of the deep threat. But I mean, you're kind of banking on Jacoby Brissett to actually be able to find somebody deep. So,
I mean, DPJ outplayed Amari Cooper in week 1, though.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he actually got a decent amount of targets. He had 11. Like, that's pretty good. It's a former Asian there. So
okay, so are we going to do a prediction for this matchup or what? Or
yeah, James is winning.
I would take James too. I think James.
Yeah, James is going to win that matchup.
I'll say for score, I'll go 112 to 93.
I didn't know we were going to do scores. That feels.
We don't,
Yeah.
We don't have to.
Yeah, all I'm going to do is throw out a random number. If you try to make me do that,
I could go with the projections for that matter.
Yeah.
we don't have to do score, but that's the only one I'll do score for. So Carter, just know that if that ends up being the score, maybe I know something you don't know. We'll move on to Jordan versus Marcus.
Interesting matchup here.
Javonte Williams has Houston. And Cortland off, a loss to Seattle that I'm sure stings a little bit for the Broncos after all the hype. I like to think the Broncos get back on track this week. I know I'm not trying to disrespect Houston. They actually look pretty decent week 1, but it's at home in Mile High, home opener. Russ has got to be a little bit annoyed. I think both those guys perform really well this week.
I'm interested to see how Breece Hall works his way into the Jets offense and how soon that happens and when he takes over and things. I think that's going to be a big determining factor of how Marks' season goes as far as his playoff and maybe even championship hopes. But I'm interested to see if Breece Hall takes a little bit of a step forward, maybe commands a little bit more of the carries next week compared to how he did. As a rookie going into his first week, you'd expect him to get less, but we'll see how he gets more and more as the season goes on.
I'm just curious to see on Marcus's team. I really got my eye on Jahan Dotson. I mean, he had a fantastic week. For 88% of the snaps, only had 3 catches. Of course, 2 were for touchdowns. But just if that snap number stays that high, I mean, he is running as the number 2 there. So just to see what it looks like as Carson Wentz gets another game under his belt. They're playing Detroit, so it's another a matchup that's very able to be taken advantage of for the Commanders. So see how that plays out. Obviously, he's got Tyler Boyd, which could be a interesting mark if T. Higgins is out again. I think that definitely helped Tyler Boyd's productivity in that ball game. And Higbee plays Atlanta. That's a good matchup for a tight end, and I think the Rams are definitely going to bounce back. Higbee's not exciting by any means, but I feel like he's as good a chance for a touchdown as a lot of other tight ends this week. So I like Marcus's matchups. On the other side, you have Cordero Patterson, who's been a staple in Jordan's team, playing the Rams. That's a tough matchup for a rusher. So I think that he might come back down to earth a little bit this week. And then Kamara has an injury concern. He's got a little rib that's limiting him. So I think he'll still play, but they did pick up Latavius Murray on their practice squad. which seemed like a precautionary kind of move. So
One thing that surprised me about Jordan's current starting, and I don't know, he probably doesn't. I don't know if he watches the Huddle House or not, but it's one that's kind of shocking to me is rolling out with James Cook, the rookie, in week 2 after getting completely benched and kind of, I wouldn't say giving up on altogether. I mean, I'm sure they still are going to use him more in the future, but you definitely aren't super confident after he gets completely taken out of week 1 altogether that he's going to come back and be getting a good workload in week 2. I feel like he's going to have to kind of re-earn their trust a little bit. And so starting him over someone like the likes of Jarvis Landry, who looked really good week 1, I understand that they're playing Tampa, but like still, I mean, I would still rather take my chances on someone like Landry than kind of roll the dice on the rookie in week 2. So that one kind of surprised me.
yeah, or even Jacoby Myers, but you never know how these things play out, man. It's all luck at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But the other thing to note, I think one of these teams is going to be 2-0, and I think that's a mark that would be huge for both of these teams' playoff pushes, because I think they have rosters that are capable of having them in the hunt. So I think this would be a very advantageous win for whoever gets it. I'm going to go with Marcus. Like his roster better. That's really all.
Yeah, I like Marcus's roster better. I like his matchups a little better. I think most of these are going to be really favorable. I mean, we didn't even mention Justin Jefferson against Philly, who just got pretty much carved up on defense by every single Detroit receiver. I mean, when you're letting Jared Goff, do that to you. I mean, I don't even want to think what Justin Jefferson's about to do. So unless they get some sort of bounce back game, Philly's another very good matchup for JJ. He probably puts up another 25 to 30 like always. Yeah, I'm going Marcus.
Yeah, I'm going Marcus too.
All
All right, we're all in agree there. Now we got Caleb versus Mitri. That's a rough one.
Great chance for Caleb to start 2-0, which he did last year. Wasn't he like 4-0 last year?
Yeah, he was like 4-0, 5-0.
How does Caleb feel about this, Lucas? Because he doesn't want to win, does he?
No, he doesn't. He's especially when it's carried off of the back of his defense, which is just the most inconsistent fantasy, stat to ever count on. So he's not thrilled about it. I mean, it always feels good to get a win, and he's happy about it. But he says his guys didn't get the memo. So
yeah,
Dietrich's rolling out with Jacoby Brissett. I forgot about that because Dak's injury. So Jacoby is
this is the tank off here. This is before the season started. This was the the 101 playing against the 102 here for the tank off preseason rankings. But I'm gonna go with Caleb in it to stay hot and to beat Mitri.
Yeah, I'm taking the same, largely off the backs of what the shootout that I anticipate Thursday's Chargers-Chiefs game being. Now, I don't think Allaire gets 2 touchdowns like last time, but it's possible he gets 1. And I just feel like Mahomes and Herbert are going to duel so much that he's going to get another big performance out of Mahomes. Neither roster is great, obviously, but Caleb's is definitely the one that has more guys that can pop off.
I think I don't know. I see this being a thing where fantasy football is such a weird game that Mahomes could have a really good game, and that doesn't mean that Hilaire will. And whenever I look at the rest of his team, like Juju, I think has, he might do well if Patrick does. But I don't think that anybody else is like a guaranteed good on Caleb's team. And not that I think there's a guaranteed good on Mitri's team, but I think I'm going to pick Mitri just because I think this could be a crazy game where like everybody's expecting it to be Caleb going 2-0, and then something weird happens and Mitri is the one who ends up squeaking it out. So I'm going to pick Mitri for this one because I think that there's nothing more exciting than crazy surprises. So yeah, I can see a way that happens.
He's making use of his the second round pick he traded. He's starting Pacheco this week. He's rolling him out there. He's like, I'm gonna trade this much capital for a guy. I might as well play him.
Might as well get the reps. Yeah. So
might get more. He's getting more reps on Mitri's team than he probably will in the game. But I mean,
you never know. Depends on the score because he got some work, but I think it was garbage time. It seemed like.
Hey, I can't bash on Mitri right now. He just humbled me big time this week by almost just embarrassing the fire out of me. I'm still a little embarrassed. It was close, but I mean, I gotta give him his flowers now. I mean, you make it that close, and I can't disrespect you too much. Plus, he's on his honeymoon. So I mean, I'm rooting for you, Mitri.
Yathan.
Yathan.
All right, take us to the next one.
Yeah, we got Brandon, Chris. Let's spend 5 seconds on this one. Love you,
Brandon,
Chris.
easily.
Brandon's winning.
Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, it's
turn off sleeper this week. Delete the app.
only hope that Chris has is Jake gave him the kiss of death. So
Jake's gonna overuse that, and it's gonna stop working
already
eventually.
has-
But
yeah.
yeah, Ty, I gotta hear what you thought about that. Checking the fantasy chat after seeing that and seeing what the result.
Which one?
After the missed field goal at the end of the game when Jake
the
put in the
block.
chat, he literally kissed it to death. It was the
It was
chip
5 seconds later. Like, it was crazy how the timing worked.
I feel like everybody jinxed that one. So like that one didn't feel like a Jake specific curse on me. I do wish he just.
But he put it in the chat 10 seconds before it happened.
Yeah, no, that was Jake.
If you were watching the live, because me, Matt, Jeremy, and Carter were all watching the game together, and Jake put that in the chat 10 seconds before that kickoff.
Lucas got
field
so
goal was blocked
excited when the message was sent because he's like,
blocked.
they're gonna block it or they're gonna miss, like one of the two.
Well,
He just knew.
No jinx upset me about that game other than my dad. Because I'm sitting there watching it with him, and like first drive, he's like, I feel like Joe's just gonna go out there and remind us how good he is. And like first pass, pick six. Like he said it right before that. And then I'm like, Dad, you gotta stop with that. And then end of the game, we scored a touchdown to tie. And so like the PAT, we're gonna win on the PAT. And this is whenever they go into the whole story of like the long snapper's hurt. And then the backup long snapper. And it takes forever for them to put the ball down to kick it because they got to review how much time's on the clock. So they're sitting there talking about it. And he's like, my dad's like, oh, shut up. It doesn't matter. Just we're going to hit it. Blah. Well, I'm like, keep your mouth shut. And then we in overtime, when it's the chip shot, like 29 yarder, now he's worried about the snap. He's like, well, McPherson's not going to miss it. You just get the snap to him. And then like the snap gets back there and he shanks it. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. All time jinx. He ripped me for 3. I haven't talked to him since. I'm just like, no jinx Jake said was going to upset me for that game. There's my story about that. We can go. What are we talking about here? Whose game?
Austin, Jeremy now.
Austin, Jeremy. Okay. This is Jeremy needs this one, man, because you don't want to fall to 0-2. Not that it's that big a deal, but like just for your own sanity, I feel like, especially because he has a good roster. So does Austin. This is almost like a pick 'em, man. This one feels pretty even.
Yeah, I don't know. This one's just a gut feeling because I think both teams are gonna perform pretty well. I see some favorable matchups on both ends here. Oh man, it's a tough one. I do think it's kind of a pick 'em.
He is having to go Myles Gaskin in the flex, or he's put.
Okay, that's got to be a glitch. Myles Gaskin's projected 0.9. I don't think he saw the field week 1. I mean, how you're gonna start him over Carter or Stevenson?
No, he'll put Carter in there. I'm sure.
Yeah, I think he just did that by accident. I don't think he's rolling out Myles Gaskin. If he is,
he's got Cole Kmet bench this week for Irv Smith,
who also got no points week 1. So both guys looking to get their first fantasy points of the season, but yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. I think a lot of it kind of for me, I'm gonna say the X factor players if Miles Sanders can keep doing what he's doing. If he does, I'll go Jeremy. If Sanders plays kind of bad or gets like less than 10, I think I'll go Austin.
Okay, well you can't do that though. Like a definitive pick.
Fine, definitive pick. I'm gonna go Austin. I don't think Miles Sanders repeats it.
I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm going Jeremy in this week 2 matchup. Those Monday night games, man. Minnesota Vikings, Philadelphia Eagles. That's gonna be a shootout of a game if I ever saw one. And I'm gonna take the team that has the players that are involved in that game, and so that's why I'm taking Jeremy. I think the way Jalen Hurts just absolutely peppered AJ Brown with targets. I mean, I think he's going to go crazy again this week. And so I'm going to take Jeremy to win next week over Austin, especially with Najee Harris a little bit banged up.
I'm going to go Jeremy too, and the main reason is because I think Burrow's going to be pissed off and kind of locked in. So I think he's going to play really well.
That is
Yeah,
true.
you do.
Might be wishful thinking too, but I'm willing it to be.
Burrow's just he's never really been the type to have 2 bad games in a row. He normally does bounce back, so I didn't really think about that. I'm sticking with my pick. I'm not going to change up after the fact, but that is a good point. I didn't really think
That's the
about
only swing vote for me. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see either of them.
Yeah, it can go either way. So now we're getting into Jake versus Ty. Ty, this is your chance to get some revenge on Jake for how annoying he's been the entire offseason. All the beef between you two, I think it's becoming a little bit of a rivalry. You might not want to call it that, but I think the rest of the league, as casual observers, might be kind of noting it as that now. He was
What he's done is he's seen a team that's gotten a lot better this offseason. He's tried to replicate that in his own way by trading away future assets to keep up with me this year. And not necessarily just me, the top of the league. And I think maybe he feels like the league doesn't agree with those decisions. So his way of attaching himself to that group is to just bite at our ankles up there and tease us and jinx us and do all this stuff for attention. I feel like that's what's been going on a little bit. So I don't really have anything else to say about it. I mean, it has frustrated me a little bit. And I know this is both a game that both of us need. We're both 0-1, and as teams that have end of season and playoff aspirations, 0-2 is a mark we don't want to get to. So, I think it's going to be a dogfight. I think that we're going to have to go in there and really slug it out. I like the fact that I have the last to play. I have the Sunday nighters, and I think he'll be done by then. So I like that I'll be he has Thielen on Monday night, actually. So maybe I don't have the last one to play.
Yeah, you don't have the last play, but
tomorrow night's a big one for us. He has a lot of guys going on the Chargers, Eckler, Williams, Everett, and I have Kelsey. So tomorrow night, there'll be a lot on the line. I think it'll be big stakes for us. It should kind of set a tone for what kind of week it's going to be, especially for him, considering he has 3 guys going. So that's all I'll say about it, man. I mean, I can't say it's any other week because I have been looking forward to this one because I want this to. I even offered to bet on it and place a wager, which he's not answered.
yeah,
I still stand by. I told him name your terms.
Oh my! A little bit of league drama here between Ty and Jake. I like
love
it.
it. I've never seen Ty have a
love
rival
it.
or have like a beef, but I kind of need it now.
So
I'm going to mention 2 things about this matchup. 2 key storylines for me. Number 1, I think if you guys remember last season pretty well, opening week, Green Bay gets absolutely clobbered by the Saints, like 38-3 or something. Everyone's freaking out, saying like, what the heck happened to Aaron Rodgers? He looks disinterested. He looked horrible, put up probably 3 or 4 fantasy points. Next week, he's back to Aaron Rodgers. That's one storyline. 2, he's playing the Chicago Bears, a team he historically owns, like just always plays good against. I have so much confidence. I know the receiving core is bad now. I know there's no Devontae. Aaron's coming back this week. I just feel like it's all setting up for Aaron to remind us he's still good. Aaron Rodgers will play good for you, Ty. Jonathan Taylor has Jacksonville. I know Jacksonville always finds a way to beat the Colts one time a year, but you got to remember they're the ones that knocked the Colts out of the playoffs last year after a good season. And Jonathan Taylor's probably a little pissed, So, I mean, he's probably going to destroy Jacksonville. I love your matchups, Ty. I think you're absolutely going to just crush Jake. Might be a little biased, but the boys
Yeah, I agree. I think Ty, you're gonna lay Jake to bed. I think he's gonna be 0-2. I can really see his season starting to fall apart here pretty quickly with some things, maybe some touchdown regression from Eckler, some age from Brady. Maybe Brian Robinson comes back, starts eating to some Gibson's workload. Mike Williams is always an injury risk. DK Metcalf has terrible quarterback play, just a ton of risk on his team. Starting a year 0-2 with that much risk, I mean, it's never a good thing. I could see his picks are going to quickly appreciate and become highly sought after pieces in this league. I see him. It's a dark road for Jake, and I think this week it really is going to set into him, and he's going to see that.
I think he's fearing it a little bit, and I think he's masking some of that fear by just trash talking and being annoying us in the chat. I think in redraft he was always towards the bottom, and then he has his 1 year in the sun where he's obviously top of the league, one of the best guys. And I think Jake's going to become Jake again. It's he had his year, he had his chance. We're gonna see the regression.
Well, he does have a nice setup with Mike Williams. No Keenan Allen, so you would imagine he'd get more targets than he kind of had an Allen Robinson game.
You would imagine.
You would imagine, but
it's Mike Williams. You got that 30-point ceiling and that 2-point floor. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's never really in between. So I'm hoping.
No, it never is.
He's had ceiling games against the Chiefs before. Anyhow, that's my thoughts on the matchup. We can go on from there.
Last one is me and Lucas. Saved it for last because two of the guys on the show are in the matchup. So it's the rivalry game. We have some money on this one. We're friends in real life and fantasy. We hate each other. So there's not really too many wins out there in the regular season schedule that I want more than beating Lucas. I went 2-0 against him last year. I'm going to continue to try to be undefeated against the man in this league. So I'm going for another one. Lucas, I hope you guys bring your A game because my guys are bouncing back.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Week 1 didn't inspire a whole lot of confidence in me, but this is just a rivalry game that they just have to come out and compete for. I need T. Higgins suiting up. Okay, I don't care if he has a concussion. We're playing against the Asians, so get your ass out there, T. This is going to be a great week. We got $10 on it. A nice lunch one of these days after I beat him. Courtesy of Matt. I'm super excited for it, and always a week that I circle on my calendar every football season.
Yeah, I'm gonna spend the $10 on. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. Maybe order some sort of maybe fun picture frame or something to hang up. Just this scoreboard. Maybe print out the scoreboard of me beating you and maybe hang it up on my wall just to kind of wake up in the morning, look to my left, and remind myself that I'm just better than you.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
It's gonna happen. The bounce
It's
back
gonna
is
be an
happening.
interesting week.
Yeah.
Matt,
we'll see if you can get more than 7 points out of Stafford.
Matt, you got nice matchups this week, bro.
I do, man. I got Cooper Kupp and Stafford against Atlanta. Goodness gracious. Dalton Schultz.
Got a tough.
Dalton Schultz is about to get checked down to all high heavens with Cooper Rush. Now, I don't think CD has an unbelievable game, but I mean, he'll still get targeted. Dalvin against Philly in a shootout. He's bound to get in the end zone this week. And I don't like Derrick Henry against Buffalo. That's kind of the one matchup I'm not a huge fan of.
I was saying, yeah, because Buffalo's going to pound them into oblivion probably. But I think
just like I'm going to do to Matt.
The highlight of this game for me is that we get to see Sexy Rexy back on the fantasy gridiron. Thanks to Lucas.
Former Asian.
No way.
Hey, I think that's going to turn into a great pickup. That's my last pickup before the season, and he dominated the share of the load in that backfield.
It's a revenge game for Rexy because he's a former Asian, as Matt.
Yeah, so I abandoned him.
We can't ignore that narrative here. That's all I'm saying.
I abandoned him after he was my RB2 almost the entire season last year. And yeah, he's got to be a little mad, So
okay. Why don't we make our picks here? I mean, are you guys gonna? I assume you all are.
You're the swing vote. I'm picking myself, Lucas.
I'm picking myself.
Yeah.
Ty, you better pick me.
Ty, you got the opportunity here to make one of us happy and the other one mad. So who are you choosing?
It's a tough spot, but I'd have to go with Matt. I think he has great matchups, and I just think he has the sexier team. I mean, Lucas, you have a great foundation built here, but I think that Matt has built for this moment, and I think the projections kind of bear that out. But they're certainly not everything.
Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see what comes up this weekend, and we'll see what we can do here. I think if Mitri can make him sweat, I can only imagine what I can do to him. So
point A right there.
You got to find you a Curtis Samuel.
Might have one up my sleeve. We'll see.
Might be Sexy Rexy.
I'm telling you, man. That dude.
How cool would it be if he came out and scored 30 points on you, Matt?
That'd be so tough. We would never hear the end of it. Gosh, we never did with Cordero Patterson last year.
No, I'm still talking about that one. That one scarred me a little bit. I mean, I understand he's still doing good consistently, but he put up like 45. That was just stupid. I'm still mad about that. It's stuck.
We'll revisit this in a week's time, but we'll drop this tomorrow morning. So hopefully you guys can listen on their way into work and get ready for the football weekend. Got a big one coming up. Maybe we'll even get it out tonight so people can watch. But all right, do we have anything else?
No,
I think that's everything.
Excited for week 2. Me and Lucas, I don't think either of us have any Thursday night games, so we get to just watch the game, have some fun. We're dialing in for Sunday, so.
Sounds good, boys. Best of luck to both of y'all in your matchup.
I'm rooting for you this week, Ty. I know you're one of my threats, but still, like, you gotta win this just for the league's sake. You know, knock Jake down a peg. It's gonna be fun.
Well, I've given him as many pep talks as I can, so like nothing I can do at this point. Let's see.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to week 2. Hope you guys enjoy this one. I know it's been much anticipated. I had to get Lucas on here just for the storyline's sake. So, Lucas, thanks for being on.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
We'll enjoy the games.
All right, boys. Talk to y'all next week.
Yep. See ya.